So we will kick off. Liam, thanks very much. How are you doing at the moment?
No worries. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Getting by day, Want to get back on the table as soon as possible, hopefully.
Yeah, I think we'd all go along with that. There's a lot of league and club players out there as well that would say exactly the same. Okay, well, let's start with a question. I think I saw Brett Holt is with us. Would you like to ask your question to Liam? Can you remember it, Brett?
Hi there. Yeah. So I was asking the question on what is your daily routine do you have in terms of physical exercise? I mean, do you have a physical routine that you do at the moment?
In lockdown or general, when I've got...
Well, the different, I mean, like in lockdown at the moment.
Yeah, in lockdown now, obviously when it all started, we didn't really know what was going to happen and how long we'd be in it. So I've got a fitness coach. He sent me a program through, so I'm doing basically 2 physical sessions per day. Then actually, Victas, my sponsor, sent me a table, so I've got a table at home now. So now I'm doing 1 table tennis session, 1 physical session. So I'm sort of mixing it up and trying to keep everything fresh, so I don't get bored and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And then when we're not in lockdown, does your physical sessions increase a lot?
I'd say now, obviously, now in lockdown, I've got a little bit more time to focus on the physical side of stuff. So I've probably been doing a bit more. Obviously, it's more difficult to just do like heavy weights at home. But when I've got competitions and matches, it's obviously difficult to find time when I'm traveling a lot to get my proper physical sessions in. So I tend to, if I've got a tournament, say in 2 weeks, the first week I'll go harder on my physical and the table practice, and then the week before I'll sort of tone it down, do a little bit less on the physical side of stuff and just focus on specific stuff that I need to get me ready for the tournament.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, man. Yeah, it's inspired me. Must get on and do some physical exercise.
Good stuff. Thanks very much for your question, Brett. Is Gabriel Petito with us? Very young player, 9 years old. Are you here? Maybe we don't have Gabriel with us. Let's go. I've seen Louis Chung Turner. You're there, aren't you? Would you like to ask your question to Liam?
What sacrifices have you made to get to where you are now?
Oh, good question. Quite a lot. When I was young, obviously, when I was at school, I missed out a lot on, actual school and, spending time with friends at home and stuff like that. I was always away traveling, playing tournaments. But it was something that, from a young sort of age that I decided that I wanted to do. So I didn't really see it as a sacrifice, but, a lot of people outside of sport would say, you've sacrificed that. But for me, I don't really see it like that. I've obviously made sacrifices, but it was something that I enjoyed and that I wanted to do, and something that, gave me an aim to work towards.
Thank you.
I'll ask Gabriel's question, actually. He just was interested in what age you were when you started playing. So tell us a little bit about how you got into it at the very beginning.
Yeah, I was about 8 or 9, really. And I used to play tennis. So, I was county standard at tennis. So I was playing that, and obviously football. Everyone plays football, I think, when they're young, or a lot of kids. So I never really thought about table tennis until it was raining outside one lunchtime, and we couldn't play. Me and my friends couldn't play outside, so we went in. They had a table tennis club going on at school. We went in, and there was me and 2 other friends actually. Went in, carried on, really enjoyed it, and started playing. We actually, all of us, basically, we live on the same street, and we all carried on into the England junior squad together. Obviously, I've carried on. They've gone into working now, so. Life takes you in different ways, but yeah, that's how I started.
Good stuff. Thank you for that. Owen Rumbold, I've seen that you're with us. Would you like to put your question to Liam next?
Hello, Liam. Good to see you.
Nice to see it. You all right?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Looking back to when you started playing and when you were looking for a coach, somebody to lead you in your playing, what were the sort of things you were looking for in a coach that you thought would get you where you needed to be?
Good question, and one that's obviously a bit difficult to answer. I think obviously it sort of depends on the player, really. You know, when I was young, when I first started, obviously I don't know if you know Colin Deaton, Sandra's husband that died a few years ago. He led the club in Chesterfield, where I'm from. You know, I just remember every time I went to his club, he just loved table tennis. You know, he probably wasn't the best coach, or you know, but he got kids interested in table tennis. You know, and for me, that sort of, you know, I had to choose between tennis and table tennis, and that was probably one of the main reasons why I chose table tennis, because I just, you know, the social side of things and how he sort of inspired me to keep coming back into the hall and wanting to play was a major factor in that. Obviously, you know, when I progressed my career as well, you know, you need different things from different coaches at certain times in your career. So, you know, I'd say obviously it depends where the player is in regards to where they want to be and where they are in their career. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it certainly does. There's kind of a related question. I'm just looking to see if we got Andy Foster with us. I can't see him actually scrolling across, but he was just asking who's been the most influential, your parents or a particular coach?
You know, obviously my parents have did so much for me. I still do. You know, obviously supporting me, driving me all around the country when I was young, and spending, you know, £1,000 on my career, and you know, obviously they influenced that a lot. Table tennis wise, like I said, Colin at the very start of my career, you know, he always said to me, you know, even when I was young, like 10, 11, 12, growing up, he said, you know, he's going to be in the England team one day, like senior team. He didn't actually get to see me do it, but you know, that was a major, that spurred me on a lot to carry on. And you know, I've had countless coaches throughout my career that have helped in different ways. So there's probably too many to count. You have to take the good things from who you're working with at that particular time.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to, let's see, let's have Daniel Caro next. This is about a recent performance at the Qatar Open. Daniel, if you're there, can you ask your question?
Yeah. When you went into the semi-finals against Xu Xin, how did you mentally prepare yourself? Because he was obviously ranked higher than you at that point, and you came out on top.
Yeah, he was. Well, he obviously still is. You know, for me, going into it, I was a little bit nervous. I never won a set against him before. Probably one of the players that I dislike to play the most. And I was obviously playing well. I was feeling good, but obviously I was still nervous. I think, you know, first set it probably showed a little bit how nervous I was still. But once I relaxed into the game, I think everything then just sort of fell into place, and I could play my game and put him under pressure. And I knew that if I got into positions that could put him under pressure, you know, he's only human, and you have to take those chances when they come, which this time I did. So hopefully I can keep doing that in the future.
Yeah. did you like do anything different than you'd done when you'd played Shushin before that made the difference, or was it just like how you're playing in that day?
I think I probably prepared a little bit better. I knew, obviously, the past few matches I'd played him, I didn't receive particularly well. And I kind of didn't stop him from getting his first forehand attack in. So, I went in sort of thinking, I need to stop him, stop his third ball, stop his serves where I can. And I think, personally, I think I did that quite well. I received probably some of the best stuff that I feel I've played in my career. And obviously I needed to do that against him.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Daniel. We'll bring in Paul Beck now, if you're there, Paul, because I think your question kind of follows on from that one.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can, anyway.
Yeah. I can hear you, Paul. You all right?
Go ahead, Paul. Ask your question. I'm not sure. Have we? Paul, can we unmute? Let's see. There we go.
Right. Oh, is that better?
Yes, we can hear you, Paul. Sorry about that. Can you ask your question?
Oh, great. Okay. For the question, love the new haircut, Liam.
Cheers, Paul.
I'm wondering if it was Agnes or Max did it for you.
It was me. Oh, me, that.
Because I can't get to my hairdresser. So it's just as well you can't see me, I think. My question was, and I think I probably know the answer you're going to give anyway, but who would you rate now as the hardest player in the world to beat? Because you previously said you hated playing Cocky Knee, where you never knew he was going to do next. Since then, you've beaten him 3-0. Zhu Jin, you had the worst record against of anyone. You hadn't taken an end, and you've beaten him. So who now is the hardest player for you, do you think?
I'm going to have to say Fan Zhendong.
Yeah, I thought you would.
I've taken him, I've played him twice, and I felt I've had chances against him twice, but when it's been close, he's just been able to find that little bit extra, and it's been he's one player that is next on my victim list, hopefully.
Yeah, he will be, and let's not forget that you outplayed him in London, and he was just purely bloody lucky to beat you. But with Marlon not fully fit, he's the best player in the world now, apart from you. I think, as I've said before, I think you're the best player I've ever seen.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. I'm not sure everyone would agree, but that's my aim.
I just hope they get a proper ranking list soon, so that you get your just reward. The fact you've not been in the top 10 is an absolute disgrace. It's just a joke.
Probably half of that's on my part. I just need to keep winning, I think. So, if I keep winning, then I'll be in there at some point.
Yeah, hopefully just a matter of time. Thanks very much for that, Paul. Let's see. We've got Colin Ford. Are you on board at the moment? Would you like to ask your question?
Yeah. Hi there. I'd like to know, what do you say to yourself when you're preparing to play a point in a match?
For me, I try not to think too much about. I don't really like to have too much going on in my head, tactics wise and stuff like that. So it's just mainly just trying to big myself up, give myself some self confidence. Because I know if I'm feeling confident, then I don't know, like I feel I'm more free in my game. Whereas if I'm not confident, I'm feeling a little bit, stressed or nervous, and I tend to not be I tend to become a little bit predictable, which for my game is not the best when I'm like that. So I try not to think too much and just tell myself, just play your game.
Yeah.
I think, well, Liam, you guys do a lot of work on staying in the moment, don't you? Is that an important factor as well?
Yeah, it is. I think, obviously I've learned a lot during my career, and trying not to dwell on the past. You can't change what's happened, and you have to, you always get a new opportunity in table tennis. That's the beauty of it. You can play bad and lose a match, but then, the next day or the next week, you've got another chance to prove yourself and go and play better. So you can't spend too much time thinking about, the last ball or the last match.
Okay, is that okay, Colin?
Yes, I agree with that. I think being able to stay in the moment and build your confidence is very important. Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. Now here's an interesting one. Robert Pownell. You'll like this one, Liam, I think. Robert, are you there? Can you ask your question? I don't know if he's... Oh, yeah, no, we can hear you now, Robert. Off you go. Oh, no, disappeared again. It says you're not muted, but we can't hear you, Robert. Can you maybe just try again? No, I think we've lost that one. We'll come back to you, Robert. It's a good question, so we'll come back to that shortly. Let's. We got Siouan Lee with us.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. You've given us quite a few questions, actually, haven't you? I think some of them we've already covered. So, do you want to pick out one or two of the others that you've asked?
Okay, yeah, sure. Liam, what would you consider to be the best piece of advice anyone has given you when it comes to playing table tennis? I asked something similar to Paul the other day as well. So, yeah.
That is a very good question, and something that I don't know. I might have to think about this and come back to you. To be honest, what's the best piece of advice ever given to me? I don't know, honestly, it might take me a while to answer this. Can we come back to it?
Yeah, sure. I'm just scrolling through and having a think. What should we?
I'm just wondering if your question number 4, you talk about yourself being a pen holder. Maybe that's something that would be interesting.
Yeah, but that question was kind of already asked before. It was about the match against Susin as well.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's already answered this, but it's just about so I said, as a pen holder player myself, winning against a player like Susin is a very big deal. What was your game plan before the match, and what tactics did you adopt in game in order to win against a top player like him? But pretty sure Liam's already answered that.
I just realised I was looking at the wrong line, actually. It was the question 5 about the advantages of the pen holder I thought might be the best thing. So I beg your pardon. That's my bad, looking at the questions over the top of my screen.
Okay, yeah. So I was wondering if, Liam, you see any advantages of the pen holder grip, especially like in this modern era, as compared to the shakehand grip, or do you see any like major weaknesses?
I think, obviously pen holders have probably quite a bit more of an advantage on receive. Keeping the ball short. Obviously, you use a lot more wrist, and it's easier to keep the ball tight there and get in with the first heavy spin. I think there are obviously disadvantages as well to that. I think obviously a lot of pen holders struggle. I mean, nowadays, since Wang Hao, sort of the reverse backhand obviously has come in quite a lot. But I still feel playing a pen holder, that's my main tactic, to go backhand to backhand with a pen holder. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's advantages and disadvantages to everything. I think a lot of kids these days probably aren't playing the pen hold grip as much as they were, in the 90s and 2000s. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's a dying art, but we probably see more shakehand players, especially coming out of China and stuff. than there will be pen holders, I think, in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I was wondering, do you have any like particular player you think who does play penhold, who has like probably the best penhold backhand grip, like reverse penhold backhand in the game right now? Or?
I think, you know, there's a couple of younger Chinese. I don't know if you know Zheng Pei Feng. His backhand's quite solid. Even Wang Chunting, I play in the same Japanese team as him, and when he wants to be, his backhand's really good. But I think, you know, I think penholders generally seem to focus on their forehand. Even though probably a lot of them do or can play good backhands, they tend to step around and get the forehand in when they can.
Yeah, it's much more of a struggle because like actually switching between the reverse penhold backhand and forehand is like harder than to do with shakehand.
Yeah.
It's usually like the switch is really difficult to do in game because it's so fast.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you very much, Liam Pitchford. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Aled, I see we've had a couple of questions on the chat. Is it worth just taking a minute to get those ones answered?
Yeah. So we got a few questions. First one from Brett. Do you have a favourite player, or have you got a player that has been an inspiration to you?
I mean, when I was younger, I always used to love watching Samsonov play, just for, you know, what he could do with the ball and how easy he made table tennis look. He still does. Obviously, back then he was, you know, when he was young, he was obviously, I mean, he's still competing at the highest level. But for me, he's, I just love watching him play. Just amazing.
Next question. What is your favourite service?
Now I think I'd say my reverse serve is probably my favourite and my go-to serve. I tend to win a lot of points with my reverse serve, short forehand and long to backhand. You know, catches people out, stops them sort of running in. If I serve short, stops them running in with a backhand flick because they're, you know, scared of that long serve to backhand.
Perfect. I know you kind of touched on this earlier about how you prepare for a point or what you think about during a point, but what routine do you have before a match?
It's going to sound a bit weird, but sort of, you know, if I go to a tournament and you know, I'll play my first match, I'll do my preparation, you know, I'll warm up in the hall, or I'll warm up before that, go and practice in the hall a little bit, get myself in the right mindset, and then 20 minutes before I go and give my racket, take myself out, put my music on, and get myself sort of in the zone for the match, so I'm ready when I step on the court. I'm 100% focused, and sort of if I played well, if I win that first match, then obviously the next day I'll sort of try. It's a bit of a superstition, you know. I'll try and do exactly the same sort of routine that I did the day before, to get myself sort of in the right zone again.
So what music do you listen to get yourself in the right zone?
It's not. I wouldn't say it's sort of a song, but it's something that I got taught by a psychologist, where it sort of taps into different parts of my brain. So it is a song, but it's a song that my sort of subconscious gets, you know, clicks onto and gets me in the zone.
You're not going to say the song?
No.
Okay. Final question, a bit of fun. This is from Mark Tanner. If you could have a promotional table tennis match against any Premier League football player, who would it be and why?
Do they have to still be playing in Premier League?
No, I don't think so.
All right, I'll go Steven Gerrard because I'm a massive Liverpool fan. So.
Go by the poster in the background.
Who's putting their thumbs down there?
All right, back to you, Paul.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I thought Steven Gerrard might be the one. He means a different thing to me as a West Ham fan who was at that cup final a few years ago. So I don't have the same opinion of him. Right, let's move on to John McKay. Are you with us, John?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Hi, Liam. I think you've had an amazing season. However, if there was one key aspect of your game that you think you need to improve on, what would it be?
Good question. Obviously, I've worked on. I work on specific things sort of day in, day out, and obviously nothing's ever perfect. Obviously, my forehand has always been the key area that's most people are focused on when they've played me. And now I grew a lot and I'm quite tall. Obviously, people pin me in the middle, which recently I think I've made an improvement on that. But I think that's probably the area where I still need to focus on getting my forehand in more sort of from the middle and challenging people more in forehand to forehand, because I know when I'm fully on it I can do that. Just about believing in it.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Is Robert Pownell here? We can try that, because that question kind of follows on from something we just heard. But if we can't get you speaking, Robert, I'll ask the question for you. But are you there? No. Okay. For some reason we're not hearing. But he's asked, what are the pros and cons of being tall as a table tennis player?
Pros are definitely long reach. I tend to people, when they play me or I practice against people, they think they've hit the ball past me and somehow I get the ball back. And I'd say that's an advantage. Obviously you don't have to. Obviously you still need to move, but you don't have to move as much as you would if you're a little bit smaller. But then obviously the cons, less sort of room to manoeuvre, probably a bit less flexibility than smaller players. And yeah, I think that's where, like, following on from the previous question around the middle, obviously it's a little bit harder when you're taller to get your forehand in from that side. That's why I've tended to always come across with a backhand. But now I realise to take my game to the next level, I need to be getting that forehand in.
Okay, thanks, Liam. Just looking through to see who else we've got here. Mark, I've seen you, Mark Kinlock, haven't I? Would you like to ask your question?
Okay, it's a fun question. Okay, you're now with Victus. When are they going to put out Liam Pitchford bat? Count me as your first customer.
Yeah.
All
right. What date are we? So we're in 26th of May now. So it's coming in June or July. I'm not entirely sure. Probably July. But it's in the process. So it'll be released soon.
Very good. Can I ask one more?
Pardon?
Can I ask another one?
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Say you have been in a match that you have not won.
Plenty.
What do you do after that match? Say it's a match you perhaps should have won, you think. What do you do after the match? Do you take notes? Do you practice specific strokes? Or how do you prepare for the next one? Because you'll perhaps be meeting them again.
Yeah, I mean, if people that know me probably know to give me a little bit of space after I've lost the match. But after, I'll cool down a little bit, and then I'll reflect on it. Watch it back and see what I did wrong and what I did right, and then work on it in the practice, or speak to my coach and see what I need to do better to win next time.
So in other words, for that specific player, you do practice or think about exactly what caused you to lose and build on it.
Yeah, I think obviously it's different tactics against different players. Sometimes for me, I try and just, first of all, I'll go off with my own game plan and try and play my game, and see if it works. If it doesn't, then obviously I need to change tactics and stuff like that. But obviously before I play a match, I'll watch videos of my opponent and try and study what they like to do, what they don't like, you know, if they get nervous in certain points of a match and stuff like that.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Thanks very much for that. Now let's see, who else have we got here? David Adamson, I've seen that you're with us. You've got a question about playing on the international circuit, I think, haven't you?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear Liam?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Paul Beck got him first about the hair, so I won't mention that. But then he might not have seen Alan's, you know. So who knows? Now, all it was as regards when you're playing abroad a lot and deep foreign countries and that, is the scoring always done in their language or in English, or does it vary? What you probably don't remember. You're not listening, are you?
Oh, good. I'm having to think about that actually. I think it depends.
And I know the answer. No, I don't.
I think you know, the big tournaments that are televised, it's always in English, I think.
Right.
But don't quote me on that one.
Okay.
It might depend on the umpire as well. I'm not entirely sure, but good. I'll think about it next time I get out there.
Yeah, cheers, Liv. I've got a picture on my phone of you playing air hockey in 2014 at Cook and Deaton.
Yeah.
When you came, and you had nice hair then.
Did I?
Yeah, it looks good.
Cheers.
Anyway, thanks a lot.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Belton, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, hello there, John. Would you like to put your question to Liam?
Yeah. Yes, hello, Liam. Apart from hard work, what do you think has got you to world number 15? Who answered this?
What was it? Did you say apart from hard work or what?
Yes, yeah. Is there any sort of scenario where a group of you got together and it just sort of started to happen, or did you go anything special?
I think, obviously, I made the decision when I was like 16 to move to Germany. So I moved out there and played in Oxenhausen for 6 years. I think that was kind of the start of my sort of progression, really. And then obviously there's been different points on the way. Sort of end of 2017, beginning of 2018, I started working more with a psychologist. I think that gave me a massive boost for 2018. And then more recently, just working more specific stuff in the training hall with Gav has again given me another boost. So it's just been finding times and the right people and things to work on, I think, at the right times, and just having that sort of drive to want to. Obviously, you need to work hard. People, you know, there's always that argument about hard work and talent. You know, people say that I was more talented than some other people, but you know, I don't really agree with those things, because I think you could be talented, but if you don't work hard, then you know you're probably not going to make it. So
yeah. I agree with you. Hard work does help. I think having the talent as well, and the different practice partners that are at your level would help you a lot as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think being out in Europe definitely helped me a lot. Just sort of to see how other countries do it. Really, see how other countries practice. How in Germany, I was around players in top 10, top 20, top 30 in the world every day. So, of course, it spurred me on to want to be like them.
Yes, yeah, of course. So do you think table tennis England could sort of get that scenario over here? How do you think they could develop that as they do in different clubs? In the German clubs, is it down to money? Do you think they're attracting the best players in the world, where it's very difficult for us to do that here? So our players are sort of have they got a best chance to make it as a German player?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. You know, I hope, you know, one day, probably might not happen whilst I'm still playing. But you know, I think for me it's a difficult one to answer. I mean, obviously France and Germany have got that club system. Sort of, they started at the bottom, and then obviously that builds all the way up to the top. And now the top clubs are, you know, if you go to watch the French league, they've got, you know, loads of sponsors and stuff like that in the. And people love table tennis, and I think, you know, a lot of people play table tennis in England. I just don't think it has that structure that enables us to, you know, have the top clubs playing in the way that they do in Germany and France. And obviously that then it does sort of affect the younger players coming through. Obviously, I think for me it helped when I was young. Obviously, then the older players were still living in England, and I obviously got the opportunity to see them practicing. Whereas I had to move abroad. The players below me probably didn't get to see me and, you know, other players practicing, and didn't have that sort of. They didn't get to see where they need to be striving towards, and maybe that sort of stopped the progression a little bit. So I hope, you know, we're all practicing now in England mainly, and hopefully it's more of an opportunity for the younger kids to come along to the camps that we have and see how we practice and what needs to be done to make that.
Yeah, I think having you and Paul, and is it Sam coming up now, having you three at England training camps and the youngsters come along and get the opportunity to play against you would hopefully inspire them and hopefully improve them to your level, which is, you know, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we're all hoping for, and that's what we're all, you know, working towards together. I think that's the thing that we all need to. Obviously, everybody has their part to play in it, and hopefully, like I said, it might be a good 10, 20 years before we see it happening. But the aim is to have that. I think it needs to be. The aim needs to be to have a league like France or Germany and become. Get the best players over and inspire more players to play.
Yes, okay, lovely. Thank you very much, and best of luck to you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Just a question that I've thought of listening to that. I know that the senior England players, you've been doing some work with the junior squads, haven't you, during the lockdown? Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing to help them?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a Q&A with them. They've asked their questions about, you know, what they need to do to further their careers, and obviously then we've been doing some physical sessions with them, going through some stuff what they need to be doing. I think for me, it was good to hear, you know, their questions that they asked and their willingness to want to learn. I think if we have kids like that, then there is a possibility to get, you know, the next me or the next Paul coming out of that group. So I think it's a good start, and I hope they get more opportunities in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that. Sunil, you've been very patient waiting. Would you like to put your questions to Liam? Oh, you need to take yourself off mute, Sunil. We can't hear you. That's it.
Hi, Liam.
Hello, you all right?
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, my question was, in this lockdown period, obviously we have been not playing regularly, competitively. Neither we are going to play for a while competitively. How do you keep your skills and how to improve on those skills which you have achieved before the lockdown? Obviously, you have answered some of the question little bit, but if you answer specifically to my question, it will be helpful.
So we're talking about me personally, or?
Well, what could you advise to others, and what you do? That is also something would help us.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I said I've got a table now at home and a robot, so I do a little bit of practice, keep my hand in. Obviously, I think it's difficult if you don't have access to a table or to anything. I think, you know, it's, if you want to keep sort of feeling like you're playing table tennis, obviously there's some exercise, physical exercise that you can do to just put your bat in your hand and do some shadow play and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously it's difficult to reenact actually being on the table. So it's a tough question. I think it is. It's just a tough situation at the moment, and obviously everyone wants to get back on the table, including me. Obviously, playing with a robot is good and all that, but it does get a bit boring. I want to have somebody to compete against. I'm probably the most competitive guy in the team. So I want to get back out there and get competing again.
Did you manage to beat Robot while practicing?
No, he just keeps getting it back. Keeps firing balls at me.
How long do you think it will take, Liam, to get your touch back? I mean, I know that's a hard one to answer, really, but have you got a sort of time frame in mind?
It's difficult to say because obviously I feel okay playing against a robot and stuff, but when you get out to a match, it's totally different. So it might take a while. I think obviously going back to the point about talent and hard work, I think having slight natural hand-eye coordination and stuff like that helps for it not to take too long to get back into the swing of things, I hope. So hopefully not too long. Hopefully not before we started playing tournaments again anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess most people around the world are going to be in a similar position anyway, which is, I guess, not such a bad thing if you're all on a level playing field. Okay, Alan, do you want to take us through some of the other questions we've had on the chat?
Yeah, again, got 4 questions. So one from Brett. Can you give us any tips or insight to prepare for an upcoming local match?
Good question. I mean, I can give you tips on how I prepare for matches. I mean, I think I've touched upon it, but I guess like going about studying opponents and stuff like that. If you know who you're coming up against, it's good to. I think it is good for people to go in with some sort of knowledge about what you want to do and how you want to execute that. Even stuff, if you say you do a reverse serve, obviously you need to plan ahead, because I know if I do a reverse serve 8, or obviously at the end of the day it boils down to what the opponent does, but if you do a reverse serve 8 times out of 10 they're going to receive to this point or something, so then that, and then you can prepare. So I like to have a plan, so I'll plan the point out how I want it to go, and then obviously sometimes it doesn't work like that and you have to change the plan, but I'd say going in there and having an idea of what you want to happen when you play certain shots, and instead of having to react all the time.
Perfect. Got a question from Owen. We see the England senior squad on TV, but it's the same 4 people. Do you have optimism that there are others outside this 4, maybe younger?
I mean, that's a very good question, and one that I think a lot about. And
there's another question as well. So, is there an English player that has surprised you recently, and why? Which might kind of link up with both of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, because it's players are they're doing their best to be at the best of their ability at the moment, and what opportunities they've had. Some have taken them, some haven't. I think I would say if me and Paul were to stop in, I don't know how long I'm going to be playing, but after that, I would hope that there's someone to take our places. I think the work now table tennis England are doing with the 9 to 13 squad. I think hopefully from some of those kids they see more of us and where they need to be and how they need to work. I think. But I think you can't write off any player, to be honest. I think, different players peak at different times. Some players play better when they're juniors and don't play as good at senior level, whereas some players aren't as good at junior level but then peak when they're a little bit older. So I think if everybody gives themselves the opportunity, then that's all you can ask for at the moment.
Good answer. I've got a question from Anne Burleton. Do you use your best serves at the end of the match or at the beginning? Do you wait till the end, maybe to put off some of your better serves, or do you use them at the start or throughout the game?
I don't.
Kind of what you said just now about having a plan for each point.
Yeah, I go into a match and I'll start it using my best serves. If players get used to certain serves, so you have to keep mixing it up. So I've got a few serves that I tend to vary to stop people getting in a rhythm. So yeah, I'll throw my best serves in right at the start.
Perfect. Final question, one from Henry. So Henry is obviously not a Liverpool fan because he was the one who had his thumbs down. But a question from him: is there one other sports person or individual from any walk of life who inspires you, apart from Steven Gerrard?
Yeah, obviously, I've always liked Roger Federer. How he went from, I think I'm not saying, and I always used to hate to lose, and Federer was a bit of a hothead, and then he managed to find a way to control his emotions and manage them in a way that got the best out of him. So I've kind of admired that, and something that I've tried to do as well throughout my career. And I think I'm on the way to doing that.
Perfect. Right, back to you, Paul.
Thank you. We've just got about just over 10 minutes or so left. So I've got a couple of questions, I think, from people who aren't here, which I'll ask, and then we'll give everyone who's present the chance to a question before we close. Okay, we had a question of what is the thing you like most about table tennis?
Just I think how hard it is to, you can go into a match and you think you're playing well, and then something can happen, and then suddenly you think, all right, maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I was. And it doesn't matter how many, if certain sports you can do so many hours practice and that you're the best or not, I think, if that makes sense. Whereas table tennis, obviously, there's a lot of skill involved, and it boils down to who's better on the day. So I kind of like that unpredictability about it. Not that I like to lose, but
good stuff. Thank you very much. Question about whether you would choose to use your backhand rather than run round onto your forehand.
Have you seen me play?
This isn't my question.
No, I would. A few years ago, I would say I would always probably choose to play backhand. Recently, now I'd probably think more about where my opponent is and what the situation is, whether I'd play a backhand or forehand. But obviously, I favour my backhand side. So
yeah, I mean, I guess always useful to use your primary weapon as often as you can, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I guess this is probably the final one from me, and then we'll just throw open to any other final questions. When you get to 10-all in a game, how do you keep your level and your how do you keep your cool, I guess?
I think when it gets to 9-all, 10-all, it boils down to believing what you've done in practice. If you've practiced it in practice, it becomes more natural in a match. Whereas if you've not sort of been in that position in practice, obviously then thoughts are running through your head, am I going to serve short, or are you thinking too much about serving short? It goes half long. But I'm a firm believer in it, if you do it enough in practice, it becomes natural in a match.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, thank you very much for that. I think that's pretty much exhausted the questions that I had in advance. Dan Basterfield, I noticed you. It says you raised your hand earlier. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do to that. So does that suggest that you've got a question for Liam?
I've got a quick question from Gary Wyman. I know Gary's an umpire, but he asked if there was one rule or thing you could change in table tennis, what would it be?
I think, I don't know, I'd somehow try and make it, I'd probably say I'd try and make it flow a little bit easier, you know, a little bit quicker, less time between points, just to get more I think it's better for spectators if they're not sat too long for matches. Obviously, you know, it's not going to make a massive difference, but, you know, if players aren't walking around the court for 20 seconds after a point.
Yeah, so
like
in the finals of the English Championships this year, we introduced a new ball at the end of the point. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's good. It was a bit weird when it first came in, but I think, I think it's a good system. I think it does, you know, encourages faster play and just speeds up matches, which I think, you know, being a sport trying to get into the mainstream, you know, we need to do something different.
Yeah. I've got a question for you. Obviously, I lead on all the coaching elements, but obviously with you playing for England and various clubs, kind of how much input do all those different coaches have in you? Because you might have a different coach cornering you in tournaments, but even from like the training hall, kind of how does that whole routine work?
I mean, it's, you know, it's tricky. Of course, I think for me, where I am now in my career, I think it's a little bit easier to take what I need from each coach, or, you know, to have them speak and communicate so they're on the same page and know what, you know, what they need to be getting to me. I think when I was young, it was a bit more tricky because, you know, I had my coach in Germany, I had my coach in national team, and, you know, probably they weren't speaking or communicating, and one was telling me one thing, and, you know, it was a little bit difficult to know which piece of advice to take. So then I got a little bit stuck. But now I think I've found a way that I can get the best out of wherever I am training and stuff.
Yeah.
Could you see yourself coaching when your playing career's over? And would you take the qualifications, that sort of thing?
You maybe ask me that in 10 years, hopefully. Sure. I don't know. You know, I'd like to give back. Of course, I think I want to see the next group of players achieving what we've done, and or, you know, even better. So hopefully, giving the advice where, you know, things that I've done wrong, and try and guide them on a way that would make them even better.
I found one other question actually, which I was hiding, which I forgot to ask. You kind of touched on this a little bit, but were you naturally good as a child, or was there a natural talent? Was it more of a hard work, you know, or were you sort of blowing everyone away in the local leagues at 10 or 11?
Tricky one to answer. I think for some parts of it, I had natural talent. I think with regards to sort of hand-eye coordination and feeling, I had a bit of natural ability. Obviously, I wasn't the biggest when I'm not the biggest now, but I wasn't the biggest back then. So, you know, there was pros and cons, and, you know, when I was young, maybe I didn't. I wouldn't say I didn't work hard, because I did. I probably didn't work as clever as I do now, and I think I'd try and get that into the kids as young as possible. It's about training. It's about training hard, of course, but it's about training smarter than other players.
Yeah, always having a purpose behind your practice. I guess it's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Okay. We mustn't let you forget that you ducked a question earlier about the best piece of advice you've been given. So, has anything come back to you?
I think, you know, I've had countless good pieces of advice that I think for me, this is going to sound cheesy and stuff, but for me, stuff about just enjoying the game, and then, you know, for me, I've always been open to new ideas, and I learn quite quickly. Most of it, when I'm not feeling good, is but sort of down to self-confidence and not believing in myself as much as I, you know, probably should. And I have had a lot of advice about, you know, worked with countless psychologists and stuff, and but just going out there and enjoying it. And when I'm out there and I'm smiling during a match, that's when I tend to play my best stuff. So it sounds corny and cheesy, but it works for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say if it's a bit of advice that stuck with you, then it's certainly not cheesy. Yeah. And hopefully it's something that everyone would take on board and continue once we get the chance to play again. We'll be able to enjoy our game. So I think we are more or less there. I think, well, there is one more question that's just come in, actually. Seems to be a gap in our women's game. Do you have any thoughts on why that might be?
Difficult for me to comment. I'm not as involved in the women's game, obviously. I think, you know, when Joe and Kelly stopped playing, there was a massive drop off since then. Obviously now Tintin's, you know, doing well, but you know, she's studying her law degree, medicine degree, sorry. So she's obviously not full time, and I don't think the younger girls, I don't know if they don't have that sort of, they don't see the possibilities of where they can go when they continue, if they continue, and if they do give it their all. Which I think in the men's game, obviously with me and Paul and Sam and Tom playing professionally, the younger players do see that, but I don't think they see that in the women's game. And I don't know. Hopefully the next generation can push each other on and get back. You know, because when Kelly and Joe were playing, you know, the women were doing really well. So it's it's difficult to put a finger on why.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you very much. We've hope everyone has really enjoyed our time with Liam, and I'm sure would thank you for that. And hopefully we'll see you in action not too distant future. I know that there's an England game hopefully coming up in this country sort of October time. So hopefully, I think so. Up in Preston, European match.
I've been selected.
I don't think anyone has yet. Technically, I'm not sure we'll get to play it. We'll need a bit more information and get down to be eased a bit more before we know for sure what's happening. But once again, thank you for everyone's questions, and we'll say goodbye there.
Perfect. Thank you.